So the first Shaila is like this. There was a Yid that was on the plane. He put in his talis and tefillin. He started to daven. He got to Shemon Esrei. All of a sudden, the guy sitting right next to him wakes up and looks up, and he sees the Yid with all the spy gear wrapped up on his hand and his head, and he says, "What are you doing?" He's davening Shemon Esrei. It says the Mishnah, it says in Brachos, even if the Melech Shel B'Shloima, even the king is talking to you, you shouldn't answer him. He doesn't answer. This guy gets terrified, and he calls the stewardess, and they come over from the stewardess comes over and asks, "What are you doing?" David. He's not answering. So the stewardess got into a panic and ran to the pilot. The kid said before this guy finished Manasseh, this plane was already en route for an emergency landing.
But that might still happen.
No, somebody. So now the security personnel got on the plane and they figured out there was going on the Shemit, going on the Shemit. Then it was a guy davening. Now the Shiloh was asked, did he do the right thing or did he not do the right thing? So let's look here in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Look at the first Shiloh. It says this was Parsha. Nations of the world will see Hashem's name called upon you. They will fear you. The Gemara says in Menachos Daf Lamed Hey, the Rebbe used to quote this Gemara all the time, that we're talking about the tefillin that's on the head. So look in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the first Shaila Aleph, the first big paragraph. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is Mekuf Dalet Siv Aleph Beis. Lo yafsik mit Tfilosa if you're Melech Yisrael Shem B'Shleima Lo Yashimenu. If you're middle of Shemon Esrei, you're middle of Tefillah, even if a Melech Yisrael talks to you, don't answer. If it's a Melech, a king of the nations of the world, Yesh Lochu Shem Ya'argenu, one should be scared and that maybe he'll kill. Therefore, it's Pikuach Nefesh and he should be Marsov. If you can say the beginning and end of every bracha and just finish off Shemon Esrei before the king comes to him, he should do so. Or if he could, stop Shemon Esrei and walk away so the king won't see him. That's a lesser problem than talking. If you have a choice, so it stand Shemon Esrei and the king will come and you have no choice to talk. Or you could just walk away because he didn't see you yet, or hide somewhere. That is a better option. If he's davening and all of a sudden there's danger, there's a cow coming, there's a wagon coming, a car is coming his direction, he should just walk away but not talk. But if you're not in danger, you have to stand in the same place. Unless it's in the Lakai Netzor, which is at the end of the Tefillah. Then he's allowed to be oiker from his place earlier, not to do the finished Lakai Netzor. But otherwise, he should take the 3 steps backwards, and that's the coveted way that you go away from a king, that you take 3 steps back.
But in our days, if a king or prime minister with somebody coming, thousands people there, he would not stand up and daven and 1,000 people there, number one. Number two, the king never come next to him. He has all the guard, all the security, and everything. This is an
unusual case, theoretical case, right? Even if there's a snake on his heel, he shouldn't stop with dibur. Tell someone else to take off the snake. This is the crucial line. That the walking is not a hefsek. Right. Because he's in the middle of the tefillah, he's standing in the melech, he should stand in the same place and not walk away, and if he could, to take the 3 steps backwards the way you're supposed to in front of a melech. But if it's l'tzoyrech, he's allowed to walk away, but to talk, not, unless he's in the danger of sakonas nefashos. במדבר אמור בנוחר שרבע פעם אין אנושי עקב שהוא מועד לעקב zum Hamas Häusig אפילו בדבר שאין לך דבר עומד בפני פיקוח נפש. If it's a certain type of animal that might bite and that bite might be lethal, there's nothing stands in the way of pikuach nefesh. You can talk, you can walk, you can do whatever you need.
How you will know if it's pikuach nefesh or not? Because she's a snake.
In those days,
you don't have to know. All you have to do is just think that it might be, and that's enough.
In those days, there was a common thing. They knew snakes. They knew which snakes are dangerous and which are not dangerous. So, for us today, any snake would, but they knew. Even any snake, if he sees that the snake is hissing, and the snake is not in a happy mood, you could see that the snake is with the intent to be mafsik. It could be mafsik. So what we see over here is that there's a few levels. A person should stand by Shmoneh, like standing in front of a king, and should even take 3 steps back before he does anything. But if he can't do the 3 steps back, you're ready to finish Shmoneh, nish geferla. Then there's 1 step above that, which is that if he would just walk somewhere else, the danger would not be there anymore. If he just walk somewhere else, he would avert the danger. So then it doesn't have to be sakonas nafoshes. Even if it's not sakonas nafoshes, he could do so. And then there is a top level, which is to talk in the middle of Shmoneh, which is standing and talking to the king, and all of a sudden he's talking to someone else. That's only permissible by pikuach nefesh. So in the Sefer Tefillah Halacha brings from Rabbi Yashiv that a person is in the middle of davening Shmoneh in his house, and the phone is ringing, and a person doesn't get the head. This rings once, then a phone. I can't focus in the tefillah. From the front to the door, ringing, not stopping. He can't. So Rabbi Yashiv said that based on this din, he's not talking, he's just walking. He said, stop Shmoneh, walk to the front door, open the door, and go back, and just continue Shmoneh. Don't say a word.
Not just
1 word.
continue where you were. Where you are now. Why go back?
You have kavanah by the door.
I'm saying close the door, go a little further.
This part I'm not quoting. I said this b'derech, but yeah.
You want to motion with your hand?
Oh, so now the question is motioning with the hand. So in this question, I'm bringing this from the Sefer Beis of Marevno, that Rabbi Yashiv heard about the story, and he said that in his opinion this was a Chilul Hashem. He says, number 1, he said, you never know. Sometimes people are on a plane for an emergency. They're scheduled to get a surgery. You don't know who's on the plane. Could be a pikuach nefesh for someone to get their schedule to have a surgery in a certain place at a certain time. Now there was an emergency landing, they missed their surgery. Number 1. Number 2, we see that Chazal a lot of time were choishish, and they were allowed you to even be over. He said that Rabbanan, when there is Ava, when there's a chash, that will be a sinas Yisrael.
Yeah.
Bottom line is that the people that have business trips, people have leisure trips, was a whole brouhaha. The plane landed, and it was an emergency landing, and everyone got off the plane, on the plane, here and there, and they wasted time and money. What do you think they think about this Yid? So Rabbi Yashiv said that in his view, what the right thing would have been to do is that the person to pull out his cell phone and write a message and show it, because he's not doing a hefsek medibur. That would be less even than a hefsek behalicha, to take out his cell phone and write a message. I am in the middle of praying. These are prayer shawls. And then show it to his neighbor. Show it to the. What was it? That was his.
I didn't hear it, but he was blocking the aisle?
He wasn't blocking that. He was standing in a seat.
Right.
And the neighbor was a goy. He thought that this was a terrorist, and he didn't want to be mafsik with tefillah. And the Ashik said it was the wrong thing. He should have taken out a phone and explained himself in writing that he's in the middle of davening, and then it would not have this.
Other than not the top here, like the story had, I don't remember that that's the story. It was later instructed the story to have the instruction.
They all know it today. They all know. The flatters, the bags, they don't, unless they're an anti-Semite, they know what's filling on them. It goes through these X-ray.
Baruch Hashem. If it was years ago,
they still look at it because someone couldn't.
Right.
Passengers put something inside. But
the more they should teach them, because then they're wasting their time.
they do.
So
They do know.
Right.
How to fly to California, United, he actually opened up my you said, granted, you're just trying to
Interesting enough, Rabbi just says that everyone should daven Shema in their seat. Wherever they fly on a
Not
plane.
stand.
Not standing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should daven Shema sitting down.
Yeah, but
Because they disturb all these people. I don't know when
a
they
lot of times sitting down
women
together.
short.
Shulchan Aruch, he said, you're allowed in a wagon, you daven, if it's hard for you to stop and just get out, you can daven sitting down. Right.
I
You
was
can put your feet back. You
I
can go
was
back.
on the plane. That's on the plane. Checking out. They opened my feeling box. What's this? I said, it's a holy hour. I said, okay. Go. I got keys. I look at it back there. I said, and what am I saying?
You see, the Pasuk says, "V'ro kol ha'aretz k'shem Hashem nikra lecha v'yoram imeka." Very important on the planes not to make a chilul Hashem, because it's always possible to daven the way of a kiddush Hashem. If you go most of the time, unless it's allowed. But any other airline, if you explain before you start davening to the stewardess, you ask them permission, you say, I would like to go in the back and this, they'll tell you a time and place when you're not bothering them, and usually they'll be accommodating.
Yeah.
They'll tell you right now, later, here,
They're
there.
not accommodating.
Then you should do it in your seat, sitting down.
I've seen flights where I've been in Israel, not in allowed. They go back to
Right. Make a chilul Hashem. Right.
Well, it's interesting because if you mentioned Elal, they know that it's a third, if not half.
They don't train them.
No,
I
they don't.
see them not treat. I'm just standing from the side sometimes,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing they don't treat people well sometimes. They
And
don't
my
train
experience
them.
is that they let them daven, even though it's hard for them to get in and out. They know the Charedim are going to daven no matter what. They just chill out. They chill out. I don't have to support them, but they chill out. They like don't give out stuff when they're davening.
Right.
Because it's not more than 1 or 2 million. Yeah. That's my
They
experience.
have they whatever. Baruch Hashem. We should.
Right. I know. But if it's just because they don't like Jews, that's not a chilul Hashem. If
Right.
you're getting in their way, that's not
Right.
chilul Hashem. By the bathroom, they can't get into the bathroom.
Right.
The problem?
Or if they get into the bathroom, you're down in Shemresri.
Next Shaila. An interesting Shaila Lagabi Shabbos. So, last week, I spent this wonderful 4 hours in the house of the Baruch Obalander. I was in Budapest, and I went to daven Minchen, Lubavitch Shul, and Rabbi Obalander after said, well, why not come over to my house? So I went over, and ended up being a 4-hour conversation. Unbelievable to see what a shliach could do. He's sitting in a city which is Avi Avois Atuma. If you think, as I mentioned this, if you think New York is schmutzig, Budapest is 10 times that. His house is across the street from the birthplace where Theodor Herzl was born. Right across the street of his house is that biggest shul in Europe. The first near-log shul was that the original Yisuf from the Chassan Soifas Talmid, to enter that shul is on that shul. And Rosh Hashanah, he comes home, he says he hears the music playing from the shul. Could you imagine?
Still open?
Yeah, and it's the favorite tourist site in the whole of Budapest. When you come like into the city and you have these advertising the different tours, the Jewish section and the shul is the most popular. I'm sure they have cloisters 10 times the size. But the gates are on the goyim, it's not interesting to them. The shul is interesting to them. And he sits in his house and he learns all day. He has a dining room which is maybe 14-foot ceiling, unbelievable. And he has a bookcases all around from the floor to the ceiling. And he has this ladder. He climbs up. You push it a special high ladder. He sits in the ladder Yom V'Layla. He has 14 shluchim under him. He has a hechsher. He has a shoichet full-time under him. He has a bezdin. They do kiddushin and kittin. They have a few restaurants. They have plenty. They has a shul. He has 5 shuls, and he has a school under him that has 177 kids in the school. 177 Yiddish kindergarten in the school. He writes chuvas and he publishes articles. Unbelievable.
He just wrote the book with Shmonti.
Right, the early days. He did a ton of research for the early days.
How old is Trump?
Probably 55.
Yeah.
Beautiful. He has a beautiful surah.
Unbelievable. And he took over the Jewish community in Budapest. Lamash, Zorach Hashem, Shubo Hashem. I think I told you this.
They can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
They can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
They had this guy come in. They go.
I was on his table, I think I mentioned this on Shabbos, that he had a few booklets with pictures of bought it. So I asked him, what is this? It's Sigit and Satmar. He says the government put him in charge, put him on a board of the thing to fix up Jewish monuments all over Hungary. They allocated $1 million. So he said, I just forwarded to Satmar $150,000.
Wow.
He says, can you imagine in Williamsburg there's an office and there's Haimisha women there and they're running and they're having parnasa because I directed to them $150,000. He said, it's a mitzvah, why not? Goyish Geld, I could give it to you to fix up Korim.
It's more than a mitzvah, it's achdut.
So the Neolog community had connections with the government going back 200 years. He says it's with Hashgocha Pratis, he has one of his early Baalei Tshuva, is a very big Chevraman. And he has better connections in the government today than the Neolog community.
Yeah, one of the Jews is
Yeah, that's it. That's good. Yeah, unbelievable. So, as I mentioned, he has this famous Baal Tshuva who was the head of he was in the European Parliament, and he was the head of this party, second largest party in Hungary, which is a right-wing anti-Semitic. Yeah, the Segedi. Okay. So, I was sitting and talking to him.
He's really Jewish.
And it turns out he was Jewish because his Baba was in Auschwitz, she had a number in her hand. And they both were Jews. So, while we were talking, he gets a phone call. It's an unbelievable story. It's similar to the story. A woman, she went to get a job because it's not the jobs. It's part of the European Union, so it gives them the ability to travel all over. And jobs locally are hard, so a lot of them travel all over Europe to get better paying jobs. So there was a woman got herself a job as a nanny at a rich Jewish family in London. One day, the Balas Abayis was talking to the woman, and little information comes out. She didn't know herself, but it turns out that her mother told her that, yeah, her mother was in Auschwitz. She's Jewish. So now the Shabbos guy turns out to be Jewish. Now, the woman called when I was there, the next day she was traveling a huge distance. She was in shock about this thing. What she was more in shock is about that the Jews fired her immediately. She came because the Ois Shabbos, and now he tells me the Jewish family called him from London, and they're like all shaking. It's a Shabbos. We have a Shabbos. We don't do malachas. Rabbi, give us guidance. What should we do? So he's laughing. He's saying to me, "What would you say? What to do?" Okay, so I said, "Bani is dying. They have to do tshuva, not because they didn't know she's Jewish. That they don't have to do tshuva for.
You should have checked her out.
I was honest. That was nothing wrong. They have to do tshuva for asking a goy to do malachas on Shabbos, which is one of the chamordik things that Chazal say you're not allowed to do. I said, in my view, you should tell them that they have to do, in order to do tshuva, they have to learn. The husband and wife should learn all the simonim in Hilchos Shabbos that talk about the Yisr of Amir Lanoch. They fired her because now they want to get what? A shiksa? But it's also to have a shiksa do malachas for you. So let's learn.
I thought she was just a typical Shabbos.
The Chagam in Israel, they found out after many years, the Arab, the son of the
Oh yeah.
Oh, such funny stories, yeah. But here, they're not allowed to ask. This, they did nothing wrong. They thought she's a goy. But why are they asking a goy to do malachas for them on Shabbos?
Well, I think they should do tshuva. For not finding out that she was a Jew, they could ask you two questions. Is your mother Jewish or is your grandmother Jewish?
Okay.
Maybe it's a good way to ask.
So now, let's learn inside. Look at the second shayla. Huh? It's Hashem. It's an interesting pasuk in this week's Parsha. It says in the pasuk, "It's Hashem amarta ayoim, v'Hashem amircha ayoim lias loy la'am segula." There's a murder commandment about this. It says like this: that every malach has sheish knafayim, 6 wings. Why do they need 6 wings? Because every day they praise Hashem with another wing. Comes Shabbos, they don't have a 7th wing. So the malachim come to the Eibush and they say, Tein lanu kenaf shavi min ha'sho'er lefanecha hayoim. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sorry, yesh li knaf echad shemasho'er lefanecha hayoim. I'm not interested in giving you a wing, because I already have, the Jewish people are singing Shabbos, I only want to hear the Jews singing. That's the Medrash. So the Oir Zerua says, Zerua from the last Balei Toisa says from this, that the Pasuk as Hashem Amarta Yoim means, B'yoim HaMiyuchet, Dahainu Shabbos, that Hayoyim, the special day that the Jew picks, the Shabbos, V'Hashem Amir Chayim Shechofetz Boch Yosef Malachi Ashoris. And he says, Metam Zen Minig Yisrael Lohoysev Shvochim B'Tfil Shabbos. It's in the Ur Zeruah Hilchah Shabbos and Mem Beis. That's why Shabbos, we say Keil Odon, we say extra Shvochim to the Eibishter. It's not only because we have a little more time and we're more relaxed, but Pashut, it's that the Eibishter wants to hear the Yidden singing them Shabbos. 6 days a week, the Yidden sing and the Malachim sing. But on Shabbos, he's not interested in hearing the Malachim, he only wants the Yidden to sing. So, let's look now to the Shulchan Aruch when they're talking about Shabbos and Amida L'Nochri on Shabbos. I just, Siman Reish Ayin Vav, and I have a few Sifim that are very relevant. No, Asif Aleph, Nochri, Shedlik, Esanev, Shul Yisrael, also L'chol, Odom, L'shtamash, L'oyde, B'Shabbos. If a guy lights a candle for a Yid, no one is allowed to have pleasure from that light. Even if the light was not lit for me, for another Yid, if it was the goy turns on the light for a Yid, it's also for any Yid to use that light on Shabbos. The Chacham said the goy did a malach gemura for a Yid. No one is allowed to enjoy this malach. He chopped the wood and he put it into the fireplace. Also, no Jew is allowed to get warmth from this fire on Shabbos. Even if the goy is not doing it to do a favor for the Yid, the goy wants it for his own good. What does that mean? Tells the guy, you know what? Every time I need a fire in my fireplace, you get $1. At the end of the month, we count up how many times you did it, and that's how much dollars they give you. If you 30 times $30, 32 times $32. The guy is excited every time he says, he sees the fireplace empty. He goes, he chops wood, he puts it in. It's another $1 for him. You didn't tell him to do it in Shabbos. He's doing it for his own sake. But the part because he's doing it for you, it's also for you to let him do it for you. Ava became. If he does it, also lehonis v'malachta b'Shabbos. And if he does it, you're not allowed to have pleasure from this fire in Shabbos. Shahoyel b'gufa yisol yenena b'Shabbos b'gufa malacha. The ikra malacha nasas b'shviloi. Sharei anochi ein enena b'gufa malacha la meschora. The guy is not making the fire because he wants to get warmed up. He wants the money. So the gufa malacha was done for the Yid.
What if he has both? He wants the money and he gets.
Then it would be mutter. We'll talk about it soon. Then it would be mutter. והוא מסכבה ועשיס גוף המלאך בשבס ושיל שאין ישראל למנת נמצא שעשיס מלאך בשבס בשביל לא כשיין בשבס וישליק זה גזירה שם יאמר לו לעשיס בשבס בשביל הנושא. Chazal made here a gzeira l'gzeira, that if you're allowed to have pleasure from this fire, to next Shabbos, by mistake, you're going to ask the goy to turn on the light or turn on the fire for you on Shabbos. So you say you're not even allowed to have pleasure with this. וישליק זה גזירה שם יאמר לו לעשיס בשבס בשביל הנושא אם יהיה מותר לו להונס ומענק שעיקר עשייס בשביל הנושא. The Yochanan said you're not allowed to even have pleasure. You're not allowed to ask him to turn on the fire or to turn on the light. And if he does it for you, you're not allowed to have pleasure from it.
What's the halacha of borer on Shabbos? And say that you shouldn't take out a bone from the soup. Give an example. He said the bone, if you take a bone, it's going to be wet. So you're taking it with bed. It's impossible to take the bone out of the soup and the bone should be dry. It's got to have a second of, it's got to have some liquid on it, therefore you're not doing borer. So he didn't answer. I'm wondering over here, the second he lights the fire, the reason why you light the fire is because it's cold in the room. So you need chibuk. So even if he's getting hung up for a second, he's doing it for himself also.
Okay, so we'll talk about it soon. I'm quoting here the last sif, which is Nagaya, to answer your shayla. If it's
I'm saying he's not mecham for himself, but it happens anyway. So it's the fact that he lights the fire and he's in a cold room, he gets hung up, whether he lights it or not.
The shayla is what's the kavanah of the guy. If the boy is kavanah is not for his own hanoah or haraya, the shayla is paid.
So he wouldn't do it otherwise.
No, I'm saying,
that's really paid. That's his job.
But like the shayla is, if he sat down, I'll tell you a story. There's a particular story that's told with Tzemach Tzedek. They say a story that the Tzemach Tzedek he used to learn Yom V'Laylos. That's the story now. There was a time he learned 18 hours. So Shabbos night, all of a sudden the candle went out. He was bitzar also that he couldn't. He wanted to learn bifnim. He wanted to learn in the sefer.
It was Friday night.
It was Friday night. It was on the tongue. So the Tzemach Tzedek had a eitzah. He said they should call Ivan. And they should call him. So they call Ivan. The Tzemach Tzedek fills up a kois, mobi yain sort of mashka, and he says, Ivan, this is for you. He says, it's dark. So Tzemach Tzedek says, what can I do? The light is off. So the guy says, can I turn on the light?
Up to you.
It's up to you. So the guy turns on the light, and Ivan drinks up the kois, and then he turns off the light, he walks out. So Tzedek calls him back in,
Pull another one.
Wow.
and he gives him another kois. Again the guy says, can I turn on the light? Whatever you want. He turns on the lights and says, you know what, you drink outside the room.
I must say that. I think it is.
No, but
So-
doesn't he shut the light as he's going out?
No, because he wants to be able to see where he's going.
No, but after he's about to leave.
No, if he does it for himself,
Not a light switch, there was a candle
Yeah.
by his
That's
stender.
like
Right.
nowadays.
yeah, it was a kerosene or something where he took a match or something and he lit the candle.
Like,
The only way to turn it off would be to blow it out.
shit, he didn't do that to go out?
He was.
Almost did
He
it.
caught him off guard. He told him to take his cup and walk out the room
Wow.
and drink it
Once he
outside.
has the mashka in his hand, he can see wherever he needs to go.
Come back in.
So just the fact that
That's
it's
the
in the
second
cup,
one.
just the fact that his cup, their eyesight gets better.
So the emes is like this. Before we go further, the Mishnah. The Mishnah says nach Kuf Chabeis. Nachri sheidlikas aner mishtamish l'ordi Yisrael. V'im b'shvil Yisrael osir. The Mishnah says Ma'isa v'Reb Gamliel Vaskenim sheboim b'svina v'osa nachri kevish leidet boy v'yorda boy. Reb Gamliel Vaskenim. They came on Shabbos, and the Gemara explains that what happened. Reb Gamliel said that even though this was a malacha that was done by a goy, but to build the ramp, to go off or the connect of the tie, whatever malacha they did, to take the ramp from the boat to dry land was not done for the Yidden. It was done for the goyim. And what it says, that if it's something like, if there's something that shaykh to be marba mamid, that he could do extra, for example, the goy is cooking water, so you can't take from that water and drink, because we're choshid that next time you're going to ask the goy, you know what, you're taking for yourself, cooking a cup of water, put in 2-3 cups, put extra. So therefore Chazal said you're not allowed to drink the leftover water in the pot. But here, you can't have extra. If he builds a ramp, he built a ramp. If he lights the candle for himself in order for him to drink the mashka, for him to read a book, your hanoah is memela, so therefore it's mutter. So it's an interesting shayla. Someone called me last week about this. He gives a hechsher in a nursing home. So they have, so there's all kinds of shaylas that he had. One of the shaylas was that in Shabbos, there's this big urn in the cafeteria that they fill up with water, and it boils the water. So, but it's not automatic; it's manually. So the shayla is the goyim want to turn it on Shabbos to refill water. So the thing is, there's a lot of Yidden, and he gives a hechsher for the nursing home. Is it mutter? But he said the way he showed me a picture and then a video that it's not that they have to. It's not like they turn the spigot on, it fills up, and they turn it off. It's like a button. They press a button, and then the thing does the machine does what it needs to do to refill it with water. And if you count up the majority of the people plus the goyim that are working in the nursing home, the rubam are goyim. So I said that's definitely mutter. That's like the ramp. The goyim use it. The goyim use it too. The workers also use the coffee and tea and cafeteria. So it's just like if the roiv people on the boat are goyim and they built a ramp. You're saying that the ramp was built for the majority of the people, even though minority are Yidden, but the majority are goyim, and they built the ramp for the goyim. So the same thing here. They press one button. The water comes in. Majority of the people in this home that are using the tea and coffee are goyim, so it's mutter. If they were manually putting in jugs of water, then I would say it's also. Why is it also? Because there'll be a little old Jewish lady sitting there in the cafeteria, and she'll say, "Hey, Johnny, this is not enough water. I want a little more water. Go get another thing." If it's shayach that the Yid should ask him, "Be marbe for me," then Chazal will goize it. But if it's not shayach to be marbe mamit, they built a ramp. You build a ramp or you don't build a ramp. You press the button or you don't press the button. It's not shayach to halfway press the button or halfway build the ramp. So therefore the Gamliel said because the majority of the people in the boat were goyim, so they built the ramp for Aldas, the majority of the people. Therefore it's mutter to walk off this ramp. Same thing here. I told them that it's mutter for the goyim to do this in Shabbos, and the Yidden are allowed to drink this water.
So you
Huh?
Can't say so. By word, it's supposed to be majority.
Not get the car, it's sort of oil and you must have tea and coffee every day. Nice, interesting. You'd have to get to it.
You can't ask the boy to turn on the light if it's dark.
Right.
Right.
Not only you can't ask him, but there's a story that the Rebbe told many times. A political story with the Motala Chernobyl. That the ones that happened that it was at night, and he was sitting and learning, and the light, again there was no more candle. So Shaloi b'diyoseh, when he walked into the other room or something, they quickly called in a goy, and they had the goy turn on the candle again, and the Motala didn't know about it. The people went to sleep, and a short time later he was like walking up the steps or something, and he fell down the steps, and he was hurt. He started to scream. So they came running. They said, "What happened?" He said, "It's dark. So I tripped on the steps." So they said, "You tripped on this dark? It was dark. It's full of light in this room. How could it be dark?" He says, "Light? It's pitch dark. I can't see anything. I made a mistake. I stepped aside and I fell down the steps." So they couldn't understand. So he asked them. He said, "Who lit the candle?" So they told him the emes that the goy lit the candle. So he said, "That's why for me it's dark. I can't see." And he said then when he said the pshat in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that chol of shechol ve'akum ein yisrael re'eyu is also. And if the goy milks the cow and the yid is not looking, it's also for the Jew to drink the milk. So he said the pshat is like this: chol of shechol ve'akum ve'ein yisrael re'eyu. If the milk was milked by the goy, the yid can't see it. It's not if the goy lights the candle on Shabbos, the yid that has an neshama that's sensitive, so he can't see the light. And the Motala Chernobyl, simply to him, there was no light in the room because the goy lit it. There was be'isur. And Chazal say you shouldn't be nana if the goy lights the candle for the yid, even if you didn't ask the goy to do it. But the goy did it on his own.
That's amazing. So
Even if you didn't ask him. So therefore, to him it was dark in the room. Ad kedei kach, it's not a joke that he fell and he got hurt. So it's not something that
There are exceptions. There are exceptions.
Oh, so there are a lot of exceptions.
If there is no light in the room, and you ask the goy, you know what, can you read this to me? And it's dark. So he turns on the light for him to be able to read what you're asking him to read. So that would be okay, right?
Not
Make
to
up
read
for you. Make up.
No, I just say, listen,
Can't.
I can't, can you read this to me? And then he opens the light to read it. So is that okay then?
If you tell him it's
It
dark,
has to be a sort of godel. If you have a patient that can't read this,
No,
Can't give him any hints.
If you have a patient in a room that can't
He's
sleep,
reading it for him.
I want to tell you, there's a
there has to be a
the
reason why you need the light.
Eibishter
You
gives
have to do that.
halachas.
You have to be meramis to the goy, but this has to be a reason why you're being meramis. It doesn't matter.
you can tell him it's dark.
You're allowed to use
If he really wants to read for himself a book, if he wants to read a book
what
for
I told
himself,
him to
No, you're making up a ruse.
For you.
You're supposed to make up a ruse, but only if there's a reason to make up a ruse. But just to have a ruse, that's not an excuse. Again, you can't. It has to be the end thing the means have to justify the end. You're saying the ends justify the means. That's the reason why you're giving him this
So it's not,
shtick.
it's not,
You're not going to tell the guy directly, so you can hint to him to open the light. If there's a reason, but you don't have a reason, you're making up the reason. No, there has to be a bona fide reason.
no, that's not a
Just having light in the room is not good. If someone
Because the seventh said it. The seventh said it. He said, he did the trick.
because he gave the goy. He didn't tell him to light the candle. He gave him a cup of whiskey,
But if
vodka.
But I'm not telling him to turn on the light. I'm telling him, can you read this to me?
Not
Can
for you.
Read this to me. Read what I'm giving you. Can you read this to me?
Not to read. Tell him there's a beautiful story. I'm telling you, it's really nice. If you want to read the story,
Oh, I can't say.
not to do it for you. You ask him to read. Tell him there's an unbelievable story here. Read it,
But
then
I'm
you'll
not
see.
telling him to turn on the light. I'm just saying, read this to me, and it's dark. So then he turns on the light.
I
It
don't
seems
know.
like it's like the seventh said it.
No, someone said that they didn't tell him to turn on the light. He gave him a glass full of vodka, and the guy decided he wants to turn on the light to
No, but
enjoy
I'm
his.
not saying to turn on the light either.
But you're asking to do something for you.
To read.
For you.
To you.
It's all for you.
The benefits
He has
for
to
you.
read for you, and he has to that. The light is all for you.
We have a story from Rav Yosef, Rav David Ozeri. Years ago I heard it from him. That he slept by him one Shabbat. And at night, Friday night, they're all sleeping. The come in the morning, they don't see the rat there. Only his wife sleeping. They look over. He was in the closet. There was no light there. He couldn't learn the whole night. In the closet, they have small lamp. He went inside. He closed the door in the closet, not to bother his wife. And he was the whole night learning there. In the morning, he forgot. It's only the small light, and they were looking all over for him. And they found him. Unbelievable.
Woche base. In Tomak and Moitricho, you saw lots of my base. They didn't want me to each go out of his house. Shemadlik were noch in there. Bishvil loyme das ask. If the guy comes into your house and wants to do you a favor, he turns on the light. You don't have to run out of your house because of that. You shouldn't read to that light. The base are noch in sort of lots of men. Near the Sheilos, it's in the Goyish hotel. And the Goy turn on the lights for the Yids. You don't have to run out of your room. Give me Sheilos by Nasik base of a Terech lots of men. Leute last with the Chassidus. Yapach pon of Noida Ner la Hadas Shein Chavetz Boy. If he wants to mitzvah Chassidus, you turn his face in the other direction to show, to prove to the Goy that he's displeased with what the Goy did. You know what Chazal tell us halachas? Sometimes when you keep the halacha, you see certain siyata d'shmayim. I was in the hospital for Shabbos because my wife was in the hospital, and my wife fell asleep. So I went into the other room. There was like there's like for a family, and there was no one there. Machayas, so I started to learn. And I walked out to the bathroom, come back, and there were two schwarzes there. I put on the TV. You have to be missing half your eardrums. I don't understand how these people. So I decided, you know what? We'll see who can do better. I have to be Mava Seder, and they have to watch. Put my hands in my ears and started to be Mava Seder, Bekoyle Koilos. I was Mava the entire Seder. Didn't matter. Didn't bother them. I'm the one that got, like a sensation in my ears. It's a gate finished done.
You do it out loud?
Loud? Koile Koilos. I thought the worlds are shaking from my Mava Seder. This didn't help. They didn't bother them. Mava, the whole said the Shnai Mikra Targum, they don't care. Okay? So I walk out again, come back, they left, they didn't turn off the TV, they left it. So I help the Eivish, Pakistani comes in, he's going to pray now. So I tell him, you're going to pray? Yeah. He says he prays, yeah. I said, the TV must be really disturbing you. He says, yeah, it's really disturbing. He doesn't close it. He takes the shoe, he starts to daven. Wow. A dumb guy.
Couldn't you have mentioned it to...
I'm explaining to him that B'shas the davening is mavalvul the tefillah. And he says, yeah, it's disturbing, and he starts to daven.
Maybe he didn't understand you.
Obviously, he didn't understand.
He's davening with the TV.
He's davening with the TV. He doesn't know Simon Kuf Dalad and Shulchan Aruch. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go down to the Bika Cholim room. I was on the 8th floor, Bika Cholim, second floor. I go down there and I'll learn there. So I go down to the Bika Cholim room, help the Eivish people coming in and out. I couldn't finish even one Amud Gemara. What happens is a family comes in, and this is Satma Bika Cholim. But this family's knocking on the door. Usually there's in Hebrew, but they can't read. So I open up the door for them. There's an elderly couple.
They couldn't read?
They couldn't read. They don't know Hebrew. They're on their cell phones. And there's a woman that's crying with a daughter and an elderly couple. And they don't know what to do there. So they ask me, where's the food? I'm helping them out. It turns out that they just came in for an emergency. They found out that Nebuch, their little son, who's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, the little son, has diabetes. So now this mother, she was bawling. She was molly bechias because it's not for the rest of her life. She has to deal with a kid that has diabetes. It's not a lot of fun. It's not fun. So she's crying, and the elderly couple, I think it's an uncle or aunt, but their mom is so far. They're on their cell phones. This is Shabbos and the Satma Bika. Wouldn't you think but their mom is so far. She said, yeah, Rabbi Rebecca from the Lecha Shul in Manhattan already did a prayer for them last night, and they saw in the shul Friday night when they were doing the prayer, they said, you probably disapprove of that. So I said, yes, obviously this is not according to our tradition, but I just said, that I know that my brother-in-law had this mamish last summer. He had this with his child, and Baruch Hashem, they're doing well. And I said I once was teaching in Akita, and it was a kid that had child diabetes, the smartest kid in the class, and today he's a big mutzlah. But you have to think about your son to give him, if you're going to give him a Jewish education in Mitzvah Hashem, and you'll buy him a pair of film, kosher film. So I was talking about Yiddishkeit, I told him about the Rebbe. I asked them for their name, if she wants me to go to the oil. I want to go to the oil anyway after Shabbos. So we spent a long time talking about Yiddishkeit. Lubavitch and the Satmar Bika Choyl. You see, this is when Lubavitch and Satmar come together.
They had the $50,000.
And the Jewish shake is in between.
And that was it. So it turns out that I was not meant to learn. I was meant to help. If I told the goy to turn off the television, he would turn off the television. He'd do me a favor. I'd learn another 2 Daf Gemara. But really, I was supposed to be downstairs to be there for a Yiddish family in the Bika Choyl. So the schools of keeping the halacha the way it was supposed to. I was very tempted, like tell the goy. Just I did what I was supposed to do.
You can't tell him it's too loud.
No, because you turn it off for me. I mean, I told him that hey, you're praying for him, and he didn't get to him for him.
You're not even allowed to say it's too loud.
No, because then he's doing it for you. Let's learn quickly. The last piece here is Siv Zayin.
Your drums.
Yisrael Menoch Shesebu Yach Bonoch Hidluk Lam Nei. Yidden and Goyim that are sitting together, and the guy lights the candle. If Roiv Goyim, the guy did it for the Roiv. Im Ruba Yisrael also l'shtamish. Shemin astam eskaven amad l'tzorech Roiv. Mechitz Yisrael l'mechitz Goyim gam kenos. Shemin astam eskaven l'tzorech Neim. Lavim Masov l'gleizer amad l'cholchem lahachma v'sov v'gishon v'chol v'chol shamat l'stam. Shemin astam kenos b'shvil amasuma. Yesh echach shamat b'shvil atz b'gon shenorev sheb'shtam b'oire miyad. Avo b'sharev Yisrael muter l'shtamish b'oire. If he's immediately, after he lights the candle, he reads something with the light of the candle, then it's mutter. Turn the page. Mikzas Mekoimis. Here is the interesting halacha. It's a mekel tzorech mitzvah. There's no candles in the room, and they need each the Shabbos. They say because it's a tzarech mitzvah, they call in a guy and ask him to light the candles.
Why is that different than your davening?
Huh?
Tzarech mitzvah.
Well, it is no difference.
But you wanted to learn in the room.
Yeah, it is no different. Alter Rebbe says not to rely on the school. Alter Rebbe says you shouldn't be moich on those people. Alter Rebbe says the Yiddish Shemaim shouldn't do that.
So why can't you tell them both? Why can't you say to them, I want to daven, and you don't want such loud music? Can you do that?
Maybe you meant some of that sound. Tell them.
It's a shvus the shvus. It's a shvus the shvus. There's one shvus that it's a mirlad, but it's not really a mirlad. The other shvus is because of the tzorech mitzvah.
Right. If television is only a shvus, I'm not sure.
If you tell the Pakistani,
no, it's not that. You're telling it's for them, you're allowed.
If it's for him, it's allowed.
Okay, so therefore it's a suffix shvus the shvus.
But I don't know if turning off the TV is really a shvus. If the Sheilos is it's a malacha d'Rabbanan or not. If I know for sure it's a malacha d'Rabbanan. If it's a malacha d'Oraisa, it's not a shvus.
It's not
How do you know
it's a grumble. He's not inside the TV. He's touching the button that goes into the...
I don't know. It's complicated. It's a Shiloh of if it's makra patish or not. Maybe makra patish is a malacha d'Oraisa. So therefore I'm asking the goy now not to do a shvus the shvus. I'm asking him one shvus. I'm asking him to do a malacha d'Oraisa.
Well...
Which is what the Alter Rebbe says. The Alter Rebbe says, right, the tzorech mitzvah, some people are mekel, the Alter Rebbe says it's a bad thing, you shouldn't do that. You should only be mekel shvuz dish shvuz.
Right.
I don't know if turning off a TV is a shvuz dish shvuz, it's maybe one shvuz.
Right. No, but I'm saying it might be for them. If they're doing it for them,
yeah, so you can
say
tell
to the guy, really for you it shouldn't be so loud, it's not good for your eardrums. And for me also would be great. Maybe they'll go up there. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but then it's doing. It has to be that he's doing it for himself, or if there's a Yidden Goy, there's Roiv, that he's doing it for the Roiv Goyim.
So many mistakes.
Right, so better to be.
If you tell a Pakistani, are you allowed to pray with loud TV?
That's good, for sure. You can
and
say.
He understand, and he
that's good.
Oh, by the way, you say, it's also good for me to pray. So once he starts doing it already, you know it's now there's a chazaka that's good for him. He may try to change his mind. No, wait a second, I want it to be loud. I like it loud. What is this guy telling me?
No, but in my case, I was going to try talk to him a little more, but he started to pray. I can't talk to him while he's praying.
Yeah.
And once he finished praying,
Would have been down.
now it would be mamash tzarki. I'm making a joke.
First option is the
Oh, the Schwarzes.
Can you
Try to talk to them.
can you learn?
It's dark in the room. And I say, it must be dark for you in this room. Can I say that? It must be dark for you in this room. And then he turns it on.
If you understand.
Is that okay?
Is one permitted to?
It must be dark for
No,
you.
you can't make. Let's learn inside. The miktas mekaymis. No grab lahakol b'amir l'nochil l'adlik nedes l'tzeres u'des shenich bo nedes. Di efshel lechel b'choshech. V'yesh lamus chuz. Shalom yichel yad b'chacham. V'yishtemchem mishomer. Shalagoz al shur shalamir l'nochil v'makam ha'mitza. Afilu loimer l'lasam l'nochil gemurah shal toira. You're allowed, if it's a makam mitzvah, you're allowed to tell a guy to do a malacha for you. That's what they say. Even those people will agree, if there's one candle even on the table, it's also. Skip the brackets. Aval, says the Alter, even though it's pitch dark and you can't eat to the Shabbos, you shouldn't ask a guy to turn on the light. Most opinion holds you only ask a guy to do a malacha, which is a derabona, but to light a candle is a deraisa. The halacha is really like that. You see people are makel, let them be sure because they're not going to listen to you. But for yourself, you should not ask a guy to do a malacha, even if it's a mitzvah, unless it's a shvus, this shvus. So someone points out, it could be a TV is the malacha derabon, but you have to be, I'm not sure. Could be it's a malacha
or if it's a mitzvah derab. I was saying that in
my case it's not.
right, I'm saying now, never should tell for Dvar Mitzvah, even Dvar Mitzvah, that's only the Yochanan. Do we speak about him? Like for a shul.
Like put on the air conditioner.
Oh, next is air conditioning. Oh, now we go next.
So there's no light and the shul can't have.
Now the next sif is about the air conditioning. Where it's very cold in the winter. Mutter leimer lanochri lansas madur b'shvil Yisrael b'yom she'akoyer godel v'chein leimer lalacham b'nez b'esacher b'she'akol k'choyel b'nez akoyer godel. You're allowed to. It's interesting that the misconception. You tell the guy to come into the room and you talk like this to the guy. That's also. And when it's also, it's also. When it's mutter, you're allowed to call the guy and say, "Excuse me, sir, could you please turn on the air conditioner for the heat?" The poskim say in our countries, that in all the countries that are mild. Chazal will talk about in countries where the weather was mild. But Bisman Hazeh, in New York, in Miami, in most of the United States, the humidity and the heat in the summer is as dangerous as the cold in the winter. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you're allowed to ask a guy. But when you ask, you don't have to tell like this or like this. You just say, please, sir, can you do me a favor? It's Shabbos, we're Jewish. I'm not allowed to turn on the air conditioner. Could you please do me a favor and do it? But in a day which is mild weather, it's not cold. If it's a mild weather, then he shouldn't allow the guy to do it unless he has little children in the house. So if it's a mild weather and he went and he made a fire, I have to walk out of the house unless it's the house where I'm living in, not stam, So this is all siman reish ayin vav na'al terev. As I said, people there's a misconception about asking a guy like this and like this. When you're allowed to ask a guy, which is the days that are very hot and very cold, you just ask, "Excuse me, sir, if you have a problem with the boiler or you have a problem with the air conditioning, you can ask a guy." Any other thing, then l'chatchila you should never ask a goy, and even if he does it for you, because you have a goy, a shiksa working in your house, you have to be moicha, you have to tell the shiksa that's working in your house on Shabbos not to do any malachas. Not to do any malachas. Now, if it's them, unless they're doing it for themselves. But
they're turning hot water when they're washing the dishes, right?
Well, I don't know.
They allow it. They're turning on hot water when they wash.
There's a lot of there's a lot of details in that. And let's leave that for another year. It depends what your arrangement is with that shiksa. sometimes really it's the shiksa is like a set thing she has in your house. She gets $300 a week, $400 a week, and she'd rather come in Shabbos instead of Sunday. And she does it's all her toyelas. And sometimes it's not. Let's leave it.
But it goes faster for them.
I'm saying sometimes it's good for the guy, sometimes not. I don't want to say it like
can't clean. It's so much easier to clean dishes with it not work.
I'm saying it depends what arrangement you have with the shiksa, if it's mutter or awesome. But I'm not going to talk about dishes. But listen, talk about.
The sheik said coming here before Pesach. She said, "This the Passover you're not allowed to. We have to cover it up." It's allowed.
Yeah, that's chametz cabinets.
No, but she knows what comments was not.
Yeah.
This.
She doesn't know about chimah on Shabbos.
No, she doesn't have a chimah Shabbos.
Never had Shabbos. One day a week.
I know, that's what I'm telling you, don't get confused.
There's a famous Shabbos guy. This guy Vladimir Putin claims basically that says the truth or not the truth, but he says that when he was a child, he was a Shabbos guy.
That's how we found out.
I know we got Cholent from Kishki from.
He says he was a Shabbos guy. He said it was one of the dinners that Chabad spoke. He said that he was a child, he was a Shabbos guy.
Wow.
A gross Shabbos guy.
He's a Pintele Indian.
Third Shaila. This week the Balkarda texted me an interesting thing. He says that there was a Baba Bachas that was jealous of you. He says you have 9 daughters, and this guy has 1 daughter. He decided to give the daughter 9 names.
It was all over the website.
So yeah, say that the Baba Vidayan decided that this
What?
absolute child
Story?
Yeah. So the Dayan called him in.
Who called it in?
The Dayan. 9 names. 9 names.
Is that a child case?
Yeah, the Dayan says that it was child abuse.
How they gonna call him?
Same thing, the guy, someone recently got married to a Lubavitch, his name was Yechia, what was his name? Yechia, the name of Arena Rabbeinu, Shalom Menachem Mendel. That's all the child abuse.
It's child abuse. Child abuse. The Chazon Ish, interesting, when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he told people that it's also to give names like
Sotheby's.
Brindle, or like funny names that in Israel. Huh? Yeah, he said like, yeah. Today in New York it's different. A lot of girls, and it's cool and it's nice. But then back he says the kids, you're going to send the kids to school. You're going to come with this funny Yiddish name from Eastern Europe.
It's underarms.
What does it? Exactly. And all the kids are going to make fun of the kid. It's interesting. I'm just telling you what the Chazon Ish said years ago in Bnei Brak. So anyway, the Baba V'dain called him in. He said, "You come with me tomorrow, and we're going to make a change in name, and you pick 1 or 2 out of the 9 names. V'zeh."
How can
So-
they give 9 names? I don't understand.
The shaila is, are you allowed to do such a thing? I know we know Chassidus says.
It's sons.
Yes, it's on.
Yeah.
So
Give your daughter 9 lies, okay.
9 names
That's
is 1
great.
girl.
9 lies.
Could you imagine if she marries a Lubavitcher and they have 10 children, he goes to the oil and every time he writes a kapan, he has to write the child's name and the mother's name.
Or when you get to the Aliyah, they just give you a mother.
Exactly. Like a Shabbat. It's honest. The guy, it's not fair to a child. So Dayan called him in. He said, "You're going to come with me next day. Sefer Torah. You pick 1 or 2 9 names for them." I was like, "Kachav, it happened this week." Yeah. So my shaila is, it's happened this week. My shaila is, are you allowed to do it? Now, mine, a name is very holy. We know from Tanya that name has to do with the neshama, and that the oasis of the name carried the neshama. How is it shaykh to change a name? Is it if it's to do with the neshama? Who gives the dayan the right to do such a thing? So, the kids of the answer is like this: that you always the pnimis Torah follows what's in Nigla the Torah. In Nigla the Torah, there is a concept of 30 days. In order for example, a person comes to town, that we had it recently in the Rambam Hilchos Eidus and Dayon. That a person comes to town, he says, "This is my name." We don't know if that's really his name, but after 30 days, we say the name is Uchsa. And the flip side, if a person comes to do a get, there's a concept of Hashem Shenishtako, that this name doesn't exist anymore because it hadn't been used. It has to be a minimum of 30 days. Today we're knowing at least it should be 12 months that the person didn't use the name to say that that name got lost. So establish the name, or to lose the name, is a minimum of 30 days. Here's an interesting truth from the Rebbe to someone. B'mayin al machtovet, b'dalat tamus, v'shel chavas daitiv, ma shesipa l'ploin l'shem ach maschoyle, v'achich niskru shashem shesipa v'gav shem al choysa. A woman was sick, and they added her name, a special extra name, Chaya, for example. And after they gave the name, they said, "Oh, but she has her older sister's name is Chaya." L'per l'shein masker im kvar over shloishim yoyim shechziku b'shem anoisim. The Rebbe says, "Tell it to me. Why didn't you write to me? Was there already 30 days since you made that Shin Hashem, or not 30 days?" Why is it negate that Rebbe was 30 days or not 30 days?
Chazaka, maybe.
Because exactly, it was machzik the name or not machzik the name. In the case of this Baba V'dayin, it was less than 30 days. The Shem was not there was no achazot with the name. So B'meila
Took that long to read the name.
was we had our Baruch Hashem, our ninth daughter, and we had in our mind that we're going to give a name Cherna Rivka. And for some reason, my wife likes the name. But where did she pick up the name? Because on the stone of her Baba, Nebuch lost all her siblings. They lived in Krakow, and the Zayda went back. He came to America, and he went back to Europe. He was a big soich. He had a big business in Krakow. He was wealthy. He came to America, but he said it was a treif in Medina. He went back. Only one child was born in America. So my grandmother by marriage came back when the war broke out. All her siblings killed Rahman al-Islam. So on her stone there's all the names of her siblings. And one of them is Cherry Rivka. My wife likes the name, Cherry Rivka. She likes the name because the nickname is Cherry. Good. But then,
Her nickname now is Cherry or was?
No, she decided that's going to be her name.
Sure.
But when I went to 770, she called me up, she said, you know what, maybe not, let's do a Cherry Rivka. So I went and I did Shana Rivka. When I came home, my wife said, nah, it doesn't like it. So I didn't know what to do. And the truth is, I know it's going to sound like a Baba Maisa, but the baby was crying a lot. And after that, from,
She thought she really wanted the old name.
Yeah. And the next time I spoke to Mashpia about it. I said, okay, Nigla, listen, it's not the name.
You didn't give it yet.
Spiritually, so much. Rebbe Shazach. If you talk to the Rebbe tells you, don't. The Rebbe didn't tell you anything.
And they will take what your wife wants.
So maybe I went to Toyota. It was Shabbos here. I came and I made a Mishabeich. Instead of a Shini Hashem, I just went. I had an Aliyah and I asked and I said the name. And when Yaakov asked me the name, I said Cherna Rivka. And Shabbos I came home and I know it's going to sound like a tale, but I was sleeping in the same bed. Baby stopped crying.
Wow. And she's very shy.
Not a tale. It's a nice tale.
I'll tell you what I think it is. Could be a child's feels that the mother is not
Connecting.
Yeah, not connecting. After I came home Shabbos, she was week. She was crying the whole week.
Wow.
And then from when her name was changed, and my wife started calling her Cherry, Cherna, and that was it.
Can I say something else?
Yeah.
I know someone that was born on Testam, a relative of mine. Unfortunately, she's not married, and her mother thinks it's because she got the name of her great grandfather. Because she was named after the man. She was because she got us all the years.
But there's Gedolei Yisrael who advise people. There's Gedolei Yisrael who advise people to.
Please.
There's Gedolei Yisrael who advise people to do so. Mamash Gedolei Yisrael.
Really? Again, just telling you, my brother had this act. My mother just thinks. So maybe I'll show the tape that it's not. That she should feel
It's not. I know Rabbi Helva told me that he knows a family that they went to
Her sister was born in Testam.
Reb Chaim Oizer
She was born in
Grzhensky.
Testam.
No, but they're telling you, Rabbi Helva told me Chaim Oizer Grzhensky, a family came to them. They had the kids a daughter, and they wanted the name for the Zay, but they're only going to have one. They had one. It was ready. Miziknusa, and they had a daughter. They were hoping to have a son. So he said, "What's the problem?" They wanted to name after a Zay. His name was Yisrael. So he said, "Name the baby Yisraelis." Reb Chaim Oizer Grzhensky. Baby
So
Yisrael.
this name on the Torah is named Yaakov Chuna. My elder Zay is Yaakov Chuna. So my grandmother wanted to name after her father. So they called her Jackie after Jake.
No problem. Gedolei Yisrael. The Achiezer, the Pasim Tazor. And we see Ma'aseh B'chol Yom that he did such a thing.
Right.
So
Yehuda is.
it's like a column. You
Yehuda
have to tell your mother to get it out of her head
Yeah.
because it's Mamish Gedolei Yisrael Paskin that this is a good thing to
That's
do.
your mother called the rabbi, and you were the...
You know
I
something?
think maybe she's upset because they named it after her.
You know, there are a lot of people here whose relatives changed their names to get out of Russia.
Yeah.
So if you didn't allow that, we wouldn't be here, probably most of us.
Those changing names are a joke because they're not really changing names.
That's right.
But David shall help and that we should have Atzlocha Dike week. Amen.